Alright, so this is going to be the weekly summary screencasting for module. Go ahead and check here real quick. For module 4, during this week's summary, we captured the electric fields. So here's a rundown of basically everything we covered throughout the week. We did the electric field through the spiral notebook. Well, not the spiral notebook, excuse me, but the spiral papers that we used for our worksheets. And based off of this stuff, it was basically just able to look at electric fields based off of charges and how they're placed at different points, and if they have net charge, or not net charge necessarily, but the different forces between the two of them, between positive and negative, and the charge field that they're able to create. David made the example of showing that an electron basically on like a blanket, this would be acting as a this here acting as the bowling ball, and then this as the blanket around here. And if an electron comes by, you're obviously going to have that electron come in at a curve, and it's not just going to go straight into it. So it's just showing the different angles and shapes that it's able to take, along with equations depicted showing how different charges are able to be calculated and of that nature, showing the different distances and charges, just to be able to calculate the certain things that we need from that. The next thing we did on Monday was work on our Arduino projects itself. Within the Arduino projects, we needed to complete our assigned project. In this case, my group, I was with Jose, and we worked on the Arduino project number 14, which would be here. This is going to be the Tweak logo program that we were unable to run, unfortunately, the first time, given we had technical difficulties with the computers at school with the lab. Computers not being up to date with the OS X. They were running 10.10.15, I believe, if I'm correct. Don't take my word on that, but this is just going to show the basic diagram of it. Showing here, this would be a computer control for the different raw bytes that are transferred into the coding of the computer through the coding of the Arduino itself, which we uploaded, and through the processing code, it is able to transfer the raw bytes of voltage into the visuals that you were able to see between the changes of color of red, green, yellow, and blue, that would, as this knob would turn, would change those colors of the Arduino logo, which would pop up once the program was ran. So this is just going to be the AO input-output connecting to the prong here, which is going to show the different input outputs. These two bridges here are for power, one obviously for the positive, one for the negative, and then we also have our 5 volts going to the breadboard, and then our ground also going to the breadboard as well. And this is just going to be for the power to supply the board with. This is going to be all of our coding, in which we uploaded into our Arduino. But as again I said, the processing code would not upload due to the fact that our OS X on our lab computers were out of date. So we just went through the coding. This being here showing the different, or the, excuse me, how fast the computer reads everything. The analog read showing from the AO, which was this portion here, showing that it's going to read the computer control, and the delay is obviously going to 1 millisecond delay for it to read correctly. These are actually where we had our problems at, is when we knew we had problems was highlighted words as this, the PI image logo, the import, stuff like that, is when it was given that we knew we were going to have problems within our coding. As soon as we tried uploading it, it said error, and it said load image was not declared. We knew there was a problem, but we didn't understand how this would be the problem within this case. Obviously, this wasn't highlighted either. I shouldn't say obviously, but this was not highlighted as well. Keywords were just not popping up the right way that we needed them to, and it was just very frustrating trying to get that through. This HSB here will be explained later on in the presentation. We're going to do some more research on that, but this here is for coding in the actual program itself. Excuse me. Had the hiccups there for a second. So a lot of these codes are just, this is going to be where the image is extracted from at this point, downloaded and loaded up to the program itself. The size, the logo width, logo height, this is going to define size within the program itself once the Arduino logo is pulled up. The void setup is obviously going to be to set up the program in which will be ran and change the raw bytes from voltage obviously to something we are able to see. The background color is going to be for the hue and saturation of the color of the background, changing it all the way from white to a certain red or yellow or green or blue as well. So this is a big part of our project itself as well, is getting these values in here, because the hue and saturation do matter, and they need to start from a particular 0 to a certain point, which is going to be shown down, lost it, saw it over here somewhere, but it does start at 0 at one point. BG color, background color, right here is going to start at 0 at one point and then end up at 255 at another, once you turn that knob, which would be the computer control knob, which is this one here. This does have a different name to it. Cannot think of the technical name off the top of my head at the moment, unfortunately. I believe it's a pictometer, I believe. Like I said, do not take my word for that again. So this here is where we had our problems, and this was not popping up within our program itself to be able to run the program. We did, however, see the raw bytes in the serial monitor when we did turn the knob, because we did upload the Arduino code itself, which is going to be this first code here, which is sending all those raw bytes from 0 to 255, and those raw bytes turn into characters that you see on the screen, not necessarily values or numbers or anything like that, but just do show up like that. And I'll actually show you the video of it right here. The video of it, you can see as he turns the knob, the raw bytes show up on the computer screen right there, and he just keeps turning it and so forth. And that in turn turns into the processing code. And the processing code processes it, and it will turn an Arduino logo that's probably about this big, depending on what is defined as the sign, or the size of it, I'm sorry, depending on what the size of it is, and we'll change the color of the background, the saturation, the hue of it, as I mentioned before. And then on Friday we just watched the presentations of a few of the groups that had gone. I noticed that a few of the groups had very detailed explanations of each line, which is very useful in knowing if I went back and did one of those programs, to know exactly where their problems were and different things like that. As far as maybe some troubleshooting issues, like I had mentioned, we had problems with our processing code, and mentioned that just the troubleshooting ended up being something technical that was kind of out of our hands at that point, because it's a school computer and we don't have the capability to access or update those on our own. So things like that can be changed and just seen in different ways, I guess, if we knew what was going on in the first place. So then once David had us come look at his, this is what should have happened here, is up and running on a updated computer. It will change colors, and we'll see different values here come up, just depending on, oh, so that's going to be the video where it didn't work, because one of the values in the hue saturation color was not working, so probably this one here. So you can see here we have the 255 to 255 range there, the hue and saturation of the different colors, and they change, as you can see, as he turned the computer control knob. And this is going to be the processing code here, which reads all those raw bytes, changing them from those characters that we are unable to see or read or interpret into something that we're able to visually see here, as the change of colors from the green, the blue, the violet, the different colors there in between are all from those raw bytes that are interpreted into those visuals that you see there. So the next thing I want to talk about is going to be the neat resources, in which we are going to talk about real quick. So just go to modules, go over here one second. So one of the neat resources I saw in the programming one was going to be, I believe Jason Kraft posted it, if I'm correct. Yeah, so Jason posted this one about the tutorials in like many programming languages. A lot of it has to do with just like the real basic stuff and kind of just give you a gist of what programming is and different things that you're able to use. Um, I did go through a few of them because me personally, I'm not like a programming techie or by any means into computer stuff like that. So I thought it was very useful looking at different tutorials and stuff that he had posted from that link. Um, Definitely opened up my mindset a little bit to programming and see how useful it is, just because we use it every day and different things like that. And then Andres, I believe, posted the other neat resource that I had saw in which, let's see here, uh, maybe it was the other one. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and go back real quick. Might have been in programming as well. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, this is the one here about how he posted about the 4 reasons why kids should learn how to program. And it just gives all the basic, like how it's used every day and it's becoming more and more of our everyday lives. And programming has just become so incorporated into everyone's life at this point that it should be taught at some point or some level, just so that it has a basic understanding of what's going on, what you should do if something happens, how it's obviously used, and then just how it's going to continue to grow, excuse me, and just benefit you if you learn how to use it from a young age. Same thing as you learn how to put your hands on the home row of typing, or you learn how to tie your shoe and things of that nature. It's becoming an everyday norm where things always happen, and you should always learn how to do different things, whether it be technical or with technology and stuff like that, to better yourself or to help better others. So I definitely think that was a good little post as well. And that concludes my weekly summary for week 4. Thank you.